Hello, friends. Welcome into New Orleans Saints Now. I am Tom Downey here with some post-June 1st trade targets for New Orleans. Big shout out to producer Trace for setting up the list here today. Before we get going with this list, I want to hear from you guys. Name your dream trade target in the comments section. Emphasis here on dream, so it doesn't have to be realistic. So if you want Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Donald, you can put those names in the comment section if you want. If you give it a realistic name, maybe I'll respond with some trade ideas for that particular player. Our first trade idea here for the New Orleans Saints is on one Chris Carson. And this idea is interesting because I believe Carson is actually very obtainable from the Seattle Seahawks. Carson could be a great running back too, a great comparison and companion with Alvin Kamara, who could be suspended to at least begin the 2022 NFL season. Seattle, meanwhile, look, they drafted Kenneth Walker third in round 2. They brought back Rashaad Penny. There is a path in which Carson, if healthy, we'll get to that in a little bit here, could be RB3 for Seattle. His contract is affordable. 1 year, $4.6 million is what he is owed if traded to a team like the New Orleans Saints. When Carson has been out there, he's been really, really good. 2018, over 1,000 yards, 4.7 yards per carry. 2019, also over 1,000 yards, only 4.4 yards per carry in the end. 2020, 681 yards, just under 5 yards per carry, 4.8 in total. 2021, though, he gets hurt. He misses time. 232 yards, only 54 carries, 3 touchdowns in total. And it's the games he missed in 2021 that are the big-time red flag for Carson. The medical is the red flag here. He has a neck issue. Go back to last year. He missed time, was placed on IR, was then designated to return for Seattle. And he goes to like one practice, and they go, nope, he's not coming back at all, gets sidelined for the year. For me, and I think for others, there are concerns about whether or not Carson could even be on the team this upcoming year. That's the red flag as we sit right now of, is he going to play at all this season? So what do you guys think? In light of the potential medical issues, not potential, the very real medical issues, would you trade for Chris Carson? Type in T for yeah, you'd go get him, or type in P for no, you would pass. Sound off in the comment section right now. Let's go to another big-time name. That is one Robert Quinn, and there will be plenty of teams interested in him if the reports of his desire to be moved from the organization are indeed accurate. Now, Quinn is 32 years old, and at his age, you probably don't really want to be sitting around and dealing with the potential rebuilding situation. That makes sense, right? The contract here, if traded, 3 years, $39.9 million. So that is expensive, although we do know this about New Orleans. They have never been afraid to spend money and acquire more players in the offseason. So that is certainly one to keep an eye out for if they want pass rush help. I don't know how big of a need it truly is for the organization. Cam Jordan's awesome. Marcus Davenport finally had the breakout year. In theory, Payton Turner has new one, although you could put Payton Turner plenty as an interior rusher. Cam Jordan could do that as well. So if you want to get creative and add depth at a spot where you can never have too much depth, Quinn's a big-time name at the position. His last 5 years, every other year's been actually trending upwards to an extent, right? 2021, the Bears, 18.5 sacks. A very under-the-radar, by the way, 18.5 sack campaign. 2020, only 2 sacks. He was banged up, foot issue was not right. The Cowboys traded for him in 2019, 11.5 sacks, then has 6.5 the year before that with Miami, after an 8.5 sack season with LA. He's bounced around in recent years. He's not a great run stopper, but you don't care that much because you're trading for the pass rush in the end. Now, we're not done when it comes to potential defensive line additions. Do you think that the Saints need to add to their defensive line? Y for yes, N for no. Do the Saints need to get some more defensive line help? Sound off in the comments, Y or N. Duron Payne is next up here, and this is an interesting name because he could actually be dealt. Sat out during OTAs, allegedly, and there's been some clap back from others saying maybe not the case. Payne walked out during practice, skipped a bunch of the team drills. It's very clear why. Payne is looking for a contract extension. He wants to get a new deal from his organization, that is the Commanders. And he's a good football player, but the Commanders have paid Jonathan Allen. Maybe they don't want to pay Payne that type of money. And, maybe even come trade deadline season, they could be rebuilding or not a contender if, Carson Wentz plays like the way Carson Wentz tends to play. For a run stopper, 4.5 sacks is actually very valuable. Payne would be an instant clogger up the middle, a big upgrade at the one technique nose guard position, and can still play on third downs. That makes him valuable, especially as more and more teams utilize two high safety sets. Now, we didn't put the contract details for Payne on that graphic or the previous one because he's going to get a new deal. So that doesn't really matter all that much. He's pretty affordable for 1 year. But the idea of trading for Payne is then to throw a bunch of money his way as well. Not an issue for New Orleans because they know more than anybody, maybe the Rams in that conversation too, cap isn't real. You can manipulate it very, very easily. As I'm sure most of you know, New Orleans Saints now has passed Atlanta Falcons today in subscribers, and we want to continue to embarrass them. So if you hate the Falcons and you love the Saints and you want daily videos on the New Orleans Saints, you guys have come to the right spot. Hit that big red button and subscribe at youtube.com/Saints today. Speaking of the Falcons, how about trading for one of their players? Dion Jones, the linebacker. The Athletic reported before the news of Jones' shoulder surgery that the Falcons were likely going to move on from Jones via trade or a release. Now, a trade saves Atlanta a lot more money, and it's a massive difference to the extent that maybe even a trade him and the Falcons eat some of that money. Maybe that makes the most sense for all parties involved. Now, Jones did have shoulder surgery, which did not come out until OTAs, and I just wonder if that was I'm going to have this or just to help trade me in the end. Jones's raw numbers were quite impressive last year, 137 tackles in 2021. More missed tackles than normal, and I will also make note that the coverage numbers were not particularly impressive, although, as it relates to New Orleans, better supporting cast than the, let's be honest, garbage defense the Falcons had last year. You would slot Dion Jones in at weak side linebacker, most likely, and maybe you give Pete Werner some strong side linebacker reps in the few examples in which you actually play base defense versus, your modern-day nickel 2021 looks there. I'll also make note, Quan Alexander is still available, and maybe not a huge surprise on sign given when he signed last year. The Saints could bring him back if they want to. Maybe the team knows something to be done about either Quan or Pete Werner. Second-round pick who I would like to see a little bit more of if I ran the Saints, and I think Zach Bond needs to play strong side linebacker, but maybe you make Werner linebacker 3, in which case, or even linebacker 2, you're looking for a third/second option. So there's only 3 routes to go. Zach Bond, Quan Alexander, Dion Jones. I don't think the Saints use Zach Bond well. That's just my opinion, though. Of these 3, who would you want to have on your roster to give the most reps to? Type in Z for Zach Bond, K for Quan Alexander, or D for Dion Jones. Let's go back then to the running back position here, Josh Jacobs. Jacobs missed the second straight week of OTAs for the Las Vegas Raiders after the team declined his 5th-year option. Now, very affordable Jacobs is, even cheaper than the aforementioned Chris Carson, plus no medical issues. 1 year, $2.2 million. The 2021 campaign for Jacobs was not that great. A rather average 4-point average, yet you know what I mean there. Not ideal, but he's cheap, and you got to remember, guys, Alvin Kamara could still be suspended. That is a, if not likely outcome, a very possible outcome after his incidences incident in Vegas at the Pro Bowl, right? There has not been a ton of urgency so far from New Orleans when it comes to adding a running back. Maybe they trust Tony Jones. Maybe they trust Mark Ingram to be the lead back. I would keep an eye on this position, though, through the preseason and camp as we get a better feel for how the players on the roster are going to fare this season. So those were a couple different positions hit. Defensive line, we hit linebacker, running back. What is the one position you think the Saints must address before week 1? Let me know in the comments right now.